Let's talk about perfect peace. In a world that just never stops moving. It can sound like a total fantasy, right? But what if it isn't about silencing the world? What if it's about finding a stillness inside of it? Today, we're going to explore a really powerful and practical way to find that calm, and it's all drawn from the timeless work of Waldo Trine.
I mean, it feels like we're constantly surrounded by noise, doesn't it? Notifications, deadlines, traffic, just this constant stream of opinions. The world is always demanding our attention, pulling us in 1,000 different directions. And in the middle of all that, finding even a moment of genuine peace can feel like a losing battle.
But here's the thing, this feeling isn't new, not at all. It's a timeless human challenge. In fact, almost 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius was writing about the exact same thing. And that tells us something really important. The roar of the world has always been there. So the secret isn't silencing the roar, it's finding our footing within it.
So what do we usually do? Well, our default setting is to believe that peace is an external condition. We tell ourselves things like, okay, I'll be calm when this project is finally done, or I'll feel at peace if that person would just change. We're always trying to rearrange the furniture of the world around us, just hoping to finally create a quiet room for ourselves.
But this approach, it almost always backfires. It leads us right into what we can call the control trap. And it's this really frustrating cycle where the more we try to manage every little external detail, the more agitated and powerless we end up feeling.
And this slide just brilliantly illustrates the heart of the problem. Look at where we spend most of our energy. It's over there on the left side, with things we just fundamentally cannot control. The traffic is what it is. Deadlines are going to exist. Other people will always have their own agendas. Our actual power, our true agency, it lies entirely on the right side, how we choose to respond, the perspective we decide to adopt.
So, the crucial point is this. The turmoil we feel, it doesn't actually come from the event itself. It comes from our internal war against the event. That frustration, the anger, the wishing things were different. That struggle against the uncontrollable, that is the real source of our suffering.
And this brings us to the solution. If trying to control the outside world is a trap, then the only real alternative is to turn inward. We need to find and build up a foundation of calm inside ourselves, an inner sanctuary that isn't dependent on what's happening around us.
This is what Trine calls the still center. Just think of it as a core of stability that exists inside you, right now. And the interesting thing is, it's not something you have to create from scratch, it's something you simply learn to access. What if it's already there, just waiting for you to return to it?
Trine uses this really powerful metaphor to explain it. Imagine life as a spinning wheel. The outer rim is just a blur of motion and chaos, but at the very center, at the hub, there's a point of complete stillness. We can actually learn to operate from that calm hub, even as the wheel keeps spinning like crazy.
It's also kind of like the eye of a hurricane. I mean, the winds of life can be destructive and overwhelming, but in the very center, there's an area of profound calm that remains completely untouched by the fury raging all around it. That quiet eye, that's your internal state.
This is your unshakable inner home, and learning to live from this place, well, it changes everything. At work, when a deadline is looming or a colleague is being difficult, our instinct is to react from that frantic rim of the wheel. But from the still center, we can pause, see the situation clearly, and act with intention, not panic. Same in our relationships. When a misunderstanding creates tension, instead of just escalating the conflict, we can return to this center, listen better, and respond with compassion instead of defensiveness. Even with our own habits, when we get frustrated trying to change, we can step back from all that self-criticism and approach the challenge from a place of steady resolve.
So ultimately, this is the great reframing of what peace really is. It's not about waiting for a calm sea. It's about knowing how to drop your anchor so deeply that you remain steady even when the waves are crashing all around you. Peace becomes an active internal skill, not some passive external luxury.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it in the moment? Here is a super simple, practical exercise you can use anytime, anywhere to reconnect with that still center.
It has just 3 simple steps. First, just pause. The next time you feel that surge of frustration or overwhelm, just stop. Take 1 deliberate breath. Second, observe. Notice the thought or the feeling without judging it. Simply acknowledge it, like, there's that frustration, or there's the urge to control this. And third, release. Consciously let go of the need to fight the external situation. From that quiet space, you can then choose how to act, rather than just react.
Please remember, this is for educational purposes and is not medical advice.
But it's a simple practice and a profound one. Each time you do it, you're just strengthening that connection to your inner calm.
When you practice this, you really begin to shift your entire way of being. Instead of living at the mercy of every single passing storm, you start living from a strong, steady core. You begin to realize the profound truth about your own inner strength.
So what are the key things to take away from all this? Well, first, that true peace is an inside job. Second, that our suffering so often comes from fighting things that are just beyond our control. Third, that we all have access to a still center of inner calm. And most importantly, returning to it is a skill that we can practice.
Now, this idea of choosing our internal state is so powerful, and it's really driven by our thoughts. We're going to explore that in our next explainer on the power of thought. You can find that and more in the full playlist.
In the end, it all comes down to this powerful idea, captured perfectly by the poet William Ernest Henley. The world will always have its storms, its noise, its chaos. But you are not a helpless passenger just being tossed by the waves. You are the captain of your soul. You choose the course. You hold the wheel.